The Beatitudes, Jesus' upside-down kingdom. At the start of his most famous teaching, Jesus made a series of statements that would have sounded almost backwards to anyone listening. The world calls the wealthy, the confident, and the powerful blessed. Jesus opened with something else entirely. Matthew chapter 5, verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Not the confident, not the self-sufficient. The poor in spirit, those who know without pretense how much they need God. He continued in the same direction, one reversal after another in the next verse. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. The world avoids grief. Jesus called it blessed because comfort meets exactly the people willing to feel their loss honestly rather than numb it. Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Not the aggressive, not those who seize by force, but the meek, who wait and trust rather than grasp. Verse 6. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Not those already satisfied with their own goodness, but those who know they're still hungry for something they haven't yet reached. Verse 7. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. What a person extends toward others becomes the measure extended back to them. Verse 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Not purity as outward performance or ritual correctness, but a heart genuinely undivided, and the reward for it isn't recognition from others, it's actually seeing God. Verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Not the powerful, but those who actively make peace, doing the work of reconciliation rather than merely avoiding conflict. And then the hardest reversal of all from verses 10 through 12. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. Not blessed despite suffering for what's right, blessed specifically because of it, joined to a long line of prophets who paid the same price before. Every single one of these statements inverts what the world typically calls success. Wealth, confidence, aggression, self-satisfaction, and untouched comfort are nowhere on this list. What Jesus called blessed instead were the qualities the world usually overlooks or actively avoids: spiritual poverty, grief, meekness, hunger for righteousness, mercy, purity of heart, peacemaking, and even persecution. This wasn't Jesus offering comfort to people who had already lost by the world's standard. It was Jesus redefining what winning actually looks like. A kingdom built entirely on values the world has never quite learned to recognize as strength. The Sermon on the Mount does not end with the Beatitudes. It builds to a single command from Matthew chapter 5, verse 48. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. If we read perfect the way the world reads it, flawless, without error, a life without a single misstep, the Beatitudes become impossible to live, and the whole sermon becomes a burden instead of a blessing. The Greek behind perfect here is teleos, and it does not carry the weight of flawlessness. It means complete, a work in progress reaching its intended goal, in the same sense Paul used when he wrote of contending toward the mark, mentioned in Philippians chapter 3, verse 14. Or James spoke of the perfect work of patience, bringing a man to be perfect and entire, wanting nothing in James chapter 1, verse 4. Teleos describes growth in mental and moral character over time, an eternal labor, not a single flawless performance. Seen this way, the Beatitudes are not a checklist of moods and behaviors to master perfectly. They are a description of what completeness looks like at each stage: poor in spirit, mourning; meek, hungering for righteousness; merciful, pure in heart; peacemaking. Each is a facet of the same teleios, the soul being renewed day by day, as said from 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 16, not arriving all at once. This also answers a fear many carry quietly, that the sermon sets an unreachable standard and that falling short of it is a kind of failure God is keeping score of. But the perfection Jesus describes is not measured against flawlessness. It is a personal assessment God alone makes of you in accordance with the completeness of your own conscience, as said from the 1st of John chapter 2 verse 5. You are not asked to bowl a perfect game. You are asked to keep growing toward the mark and to trust that the growing itself is the perfection. MJI LightWorker, www.stairwaytoheaven.org